Okay, I am so sorry. This is one of those, if something can go wrong moments, is going wrong. And as you can see, twice I had some technical difficulties. I'm so sorry. I apologize. This is Casey, and welcome to Casey at Night. And as I have mentioned on more than one occasion, this is a one-woman production, and shit happens. I don't know what to tell you. See, and I started sweating my makeup, but we gonna act like ain't nothing wrong, and we gonna press on with the show. So again, hi, and welcome to Casey at Night. Sorry for the slight delay. As I mentioned, a few technical difficulties, but a true professional goes on with the show. So first, my apologies to Amber for not getting started on time. I will make this up to you in some way. We'll talk about that. But let me begin. Again, hi. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I want to thank you if you joined me last week, where I read from Ms. Judy Kemp. We did a bouquet of gardenias. Okay, so ignore what's going on in the background. So, Judy Kemp, a bouquet of gardenias. And that was a really interesting story, a little bit of a menage a trois, not quite sure exactly what was going on, whether it was a deliberate act of, say, surrogacy, where they brought in a surrogate to carry a baby for them and just decided, well, if we're going to do this, let's make it fun, or if they were role playing, or what the deal is. But you're going to have to read Judy Kemp's A Bouquet of Gardenias to figure it out. So again, thank you, Judy, for letting me read your story last week. I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity. As I always say, I'm always constantly pursuing new writers. And if you're watching and you want, hey Lola, and you want, if you want to have something read, if you're a new writer, if you're someone who writes for fun and thinks, you know, this is a great opportunity for me to get a little bit of exposure, by all means, reach out to me, because as I say, you reach out to me or I'm gonna reach out to you. So, as for writers, I have currently released Secrets, first lesbian story. It's about Erotica and Cassandra and their love-like intensity for one another that could possibly be derailed by not one person's past, but both their pasts. So the question is, how does the past affect the future in the present? Or is it, what happens when the past moves into the future? How does it affect? You know what? I'm so sorry. I got myself all twisted. Okay, we're going to go slower. What happens when the past becomes the present? What does it do to the future? I'm going to get that right by the end of the night. Trust me. Also, one of my favorites, Murder with John and Beverly. Love this story. Love, love, love. It's the beginning story of John and Beverly. And it's, what's interesting about this is it gives you a taste of online dating, a little bit of letting your inhibitions go, and basically what it feels like when it's just that good. If you've seen my tweets, you know what word I'm not using, but when it's just that good, you will lay there like that chalk outline, like you need a minute, like I can't even talk to you right now, kind of. Yeah, if you've not had that experience, I suggest you work on it. do whatever you gotta do, but you need it at least once in your life, because I promise you, if you get it once in your life, you're gonna make sure you have it more than once, but you need it at least once, just once. Coming in August, The Big Date. The Big Date is about a couple of characters, Diana and Vanessa, who appear in Tribeca. That's this one. And Diana and Vanessa are two girlfriends who are on the verge of quite possibly becoming girlfriends. And it's what's neat about this story is it's not your typical lesbian story. While one character is a lesbian, the other character is not, but finds herself falling in love with the other character. So Vanessa's the lesbian, Diana's not a lesbian, but she finds herself genuinely falling in love or having feelings for Vanessa. And so while I don't necessarily call her out as a lesbian, this is the beginning of the development of a more intimate relationship for the two of them. What's great about this story is there's some fetish type things going on that I think you guys might enjoy. So that's The Big Date coming in August. Look forward to that. And Murder with John and Beverly. Love John and Beverly. Love John and Beverly. And currently available, Secrets with Cassandra and Erica. Coming later this summer, Casey Carter on Instagram. If you're not on the gram, I would like you to get on the gram. And this is me on Instagram, the Casey Carter Experience. Probably in August. I'm trying to kind of plan out how I'm going to work it, but look for this in August. In the meantime, tonight's story is brought to us by Amber Skye. Tonight's story is Crack of Dawn by Amber Skye. And Amber Skye is somebody I've been following. We've been following each other for a little bit on Twitter. And what's cool is Amber is down here in the Atlanta area with me. And when I read her bio, you know, you often, let me put it this way. You read these hot and steamy stories and people are, you know, you have these impressions of what the author must look like, what the author must be into. And I promise you it's never exactly what you think it is or who you think it is. And so it was pretty cool when I read Amber's bio, which says, Amber Skye is a lesbian erotica writer living in the southeastern United States. She enjoys relating her sultry sexual experiences with her readers through tales of steamy girl-on-girl action. Amber's characters encompass a wide range of women, from the hot college co-ed and the girl next door to the attractive older woman and everything in between. It has always been her attempt to keep her erotica, which ranges from the raunchiest of fetishes to sweet romance, lighthearted and laced with humorous touches. Amber believes erotica should be fun, and nothing is more fun than a little laughter to go along with steamy sex. I know that may seem crazy, but I actually kind of agree. It kind of lightens you up to kind of ease you, because the more comfortable, the more relaxed you are, the more you'll enjoy. But that's a whole another aside. Anyway, Amber Skye is a married mother of two teenagers, a former third-grade teacher in a private school, and a fitness buff. She has modeled 6 of her 9 book covers. Can you guess which ones? That's the part that had me going, because I'm like, ooh, okay. We're going to have to get Miss Amber to tell us. So I'm going to see if I can talk her into giving us at least 1 or 2 to get our minds kind of started. But that is a little bit about Miss Amber Skye. You see, like I said, you never know who's writing these stories. Would you think it'd be a third grade teacher from a private school? Yeah, no, that wouldn't have occurred to me either. So I love the variety. I love, not being able to assume anything about the writer. So that's pretty cool. Amber, we are going to talk later about which covers you're on and see if we can guess a little bit. So without further ado, Crack of Dawn by Amber Skye. Fiona led me up the hill toward our building. I couldn't speak. I was in a trance. When we entered the structure, I sensed the cool air greet me and brush my body, cooling me from not only the heat, but from the heated passion still racing through my loins. We rode the elevator up to the 12th floor. When the door slid open, Fiona led me out, still grasping my wrist like with a vice grip. We passed my unit, and she ushered me into her quarters. I began trembling again, partially from apprehension from my loss of control, and partly in anticipation of what this wicked woman had in her mind. I had known her for only several hours, but I was consumed by a need to please her, to make her happy with me, to see her face light up with delight at my acquiescence to her desires. Part of me wondered if it was simply a reaction to the recent orgasms she had coaxed from my body, orgasms unlike any I had ever experienced. It went deeper than that. I believe that in the brief time we had been acquainted, she had taken control of me. And what was most astounding to me was that I liked it, even needed it on some level. I also sensed that she understood this much more clearly than I did. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to be her slave, to have her consume me, to make me hers, to totally dominate me. She whisked me into the bathroom. "Strip," she commanded. Without a word, I peeled my sweaty clothes off and stood before her. She gazed at my body and ran her tongue over her lips once. She seemed pleased, but I thought I might have detected a slight twitch of her mouth when her gaze reached my thick thatch of pubic hair. Then she turned abruptly and started the bath. I stood like a sentry behind her. She placed her hand under the running water, nodded with satisfaction, and pulled the drain lever to allow the water to rise. She added some bubble bath and then stepped back and slightly behind me. "Get in the tub," she instructed. When I didn't immediately move, she smacked her wet hand flush against my big bottom. Pain and intense pleasure collided as the sound of her palm hitting my fanny echoed off the bathroom walls. I pranced across the tiled floor, reaching behind me and rubbing my ass as I went. Testing the temperature of the water, I stepped tentatively into Fiona's tub, never stopping to ask myself, what the hell was I doing? Or allowing to be done to me? It simply never crossed my mind at that time. I wanted only to please this woman. I was standing in the bath, adjusting to the water temperature, when another brisk strike connected with my bottom. I could tell right away that it wasn't a hand that struck me. I turned to see a grim-faced Fiona holding an acrylic mirror by the handle. "Sit," she hissed. I plunged quickly into the water, my reddened ass stinging even more when the hot water touched it. But gradually, it soothed me, and I began to relax as the smooth caress of the soothing bubble bath devoured my body. Then Fiona was at the edge of the old-fashioned tub that extended from the wall into the center of the large bathroom. My average-sized yet perky breasts were partially submerged in the water, but my puffy, pinkish-brown nipples were exposed, dancing just above the waterline. Fiona reached down and tweaked one, causing me to shudder with delight. She rolled a nipple between her thumb and index finger, producing an inaudible groan from me. Then she stepped back and removed her own clothing. I watched, mesmerized, as she did a slow striptease in front of me. She removed her blouse and unsnapped her bra. Her tits were fairly large, buoyant, and each ripe as a melon. Big pink areolas anchored long, succulent nipples. Her waist was thin, her body smooth and flawless. Defined muscles did nothing to detract from her femininity. She was a goddess. She slowly pulled off her lacy thong. Just before the fabric reached her pubic area, she turned and gave me a fantastic view of her perfect heart-shaped ass. Her panties dropped to her ankles and she stepped out of them. Then she turned and showed me her pussy. I may have drooled. Pink and lovely, her vaginal lips were a sight to behold. She was completely waxed and her body was tanned from head to toe. She moved forward, her sex now less than 1 foot from my face. Her lips were damp and dewy, and when she ran a long finger between the delicate petals of her labia, I nearly creamed myself. She extracted her finger, wet and slick with her desire, and plunged it into my mouth. "Taste me," she instructed. I licked her ooze from her finger. I had never tasted another woman, and I could find nothing to compare it to, but it was exquisite. Sticky and warm, salty and gooey with a hint of honey. I longed for more. Fiona ran her finger around the inside of my mouth. "Lick it clean, girl," she breathed. She extracted her finger and stepped into the tub so that she was facing me. I maneuvered to allow her access and panted in anticipation for what would come next. Once situated, she raised her foot and used it to stroke my face, the suds from the bath making my cheek slick and slippery. Then she used her big toe to toy with my lower lip before pushing several of her toes into my mouth. "Suck my toes, girl," she demanded. "Suck them." She moved her toes back and forth in my mouth, and her wicked gray-blue eyes became half-lidded. She reached down between her legs and began slowly masturbating. Emitting a low, sultry moan, she continued to administer to herself as I licked and kissed her feet. I became very horny and wanted my own pussy touched, but I couldn't decide if I wanted to touch myself or hold out in hopes that Fiona would touch me again. So I left my hands on the edge of the tub, resisting the urge to pleasure myself. Soon Fiona's pace with her hand quickened. Her breathing became more labored, and she began to slosh a bit in the sudsy water. Then, without warning, she screeched like a hyena, bucked and writhed, and orgasmed into the bath we shared. I lapped at her foot for a moment longer, then she slowly withdrew it from my mouth. When she recovered from her self-induced bliss, she gazed at me with a sly grin and slowly stood. She stepped from the tub and moved to the linen closet and extracted 2 large, fluffy towels. "Out, girl," she ordered. "We have things to do." I stood and climbed from the tub as Fiona drained the water. My body was slick with the oils from the bath, so I stepped cautiously onto the bath rug along the side of the tub. Fiona handed me a towel. "Dry me," she instructed. I moved the absorbent towel all over her luscious body, dabbing gently and whisking the water away. "Follow me," she said. "What about me?" I asked as I stood dripping on the rug. "Follow me," she repeated, in a voice tinged with impatience and agitation. We moved into her spacious bedroom, and I stalled as I took in the breathtaking view of Piedmont Park from her window. I hadn't even noticed that she'd moved behind me until another hard smack on my bum propelled me toward her bed. She pulled her comforter and sheets about halfway down and placed the dry towel horizontally across the bed. "Lie down, girl," she instructed. I climbed on her bed and positioned myself supine on the towel. Fiona stepped up and pushed my legs apart, exposing my dewy slit. "That's quite a forest you have down there, girlie," she smirked. I was suddenly self-conscious. I knew most girls these days shaved, waxed, or sported only a strip of hair. But I had always liked the look and feel of my pubic hair. Thick, dark curls symmetrically surrounding my sex. Fiona cocked her head and continued her examination of me. Embarrassed all of a sudden, I attempted to close my legs. Fiona gave one inner thigh a hearty smack with her open hand, and then backhanded the other thigh. She repeated the process several times, reddening the wet, sensitive flesh of my upper legs. I howled and snickered. The pain was searing, the warmth from the strikes palpable, causing me to ache. But my pussy moistened. Then Fiona was on me, her face planted between my legs, devouring my sex with a hungry lust. Electricity fired through my body as her wet, hot tongue lapped at my glistening pink petals. When her tongue connected with my clit, I screamed in sheer delight. I could feel the mixture of her saliva and my warm pussy nectar flowing down into the crack of my ass. With the oils from the bubble bath still on my skin, a considerable slickness coated my crack. Perhaps this was by design, for as Fiona continued to lick my pussy, one of those fingers with the trimmed nails slid smoothly into my rectum. I went into orbit as her finger probed my third input. She continued her assault on my pussy with her tongue, long lapping licks through the folds of my labia, terminated with forceful swirls to my engorged bud. The sensation was amazing as I swam in a cloud of torrential ecstasy. My legs began to shake and quiver. My belly warmed with delicious fever, and my fisted hands gripped the fitted sheet below the towel where I lay. A second finger entered my butthole, stretching my anus to its limits. I uncharacteristically began to moan and shriek loudly, filling her bedroom with my cries of lust. Then the bubble burst. I bucked and writhed, heaved and twisted in orgasmic bliss as I soaked Fiona with my juices. I came long and hard, more forcefully than I had ever come before. Her two-fingered thrusts to my asshole were becoming borderline vicious, but the pleasure far outweighed the pain. Fiona pulled her head from between my legs, her face drenched in my juices. She took her other hand and ran 3 fingers into my wet, juicy twat. Pressing on the lower wall of my vagina with the new intrusion, the fingers in my ass pushed upward on the bundle of nerves that were now vibrating with an outpouring of sensitivity. I began to swoon. A veritable blaze of fire flamed through my burning body. I couldn't hold back. The second orgasmic wave was so intense that I may have passed out for several moments. I was dizzy with lurid desire. When I came to my senses, Fiona had removed her fingers from my vagina, but still had 2 inside my asshole. She was inspecting me again, almost in a clinical fashion. She shook her head. "This won't do," she stated matter-of-factly. "We will need to remedy this situation." She gazed up at me. "How did you allow this to happen?" "What?" I asked. "Girlie, you have hair in your crack and in your ass. I'll ask you again. How did you let this happen?" I began to sob, but a part of me longed for the abuse. I realized this now. I'd always suspected I was strange in this way, but I had tucked the idea neatly away in the back of my brain. Enough, Fiona scolded. She removed her fingers and pushed my legs far back over my head and popped me a half dozen times on my already sore fanny. The fire reignited on my cheeks and I sobbed again. 3 more quick smacks scorched my bottom, the sting sending tears to my eyes. Then she used her left forearm on the back of my thighs, pushed them so far that the toes touched the bed behind my head, and scrutinized my butthole with renewed severity. She gently ran her fingers over my perineum, or taint as I had heard it called before. I could feel my forbidden hair tickling my skin as she coaxed the bristly patch with her fingers. It felt wonderful, and I felt myself dampen once more. Then, without warning, she grasped several hairs and yanked, sending a lightning bolt of pain through my center. I yelped and she pounded my bottom several more times, a fiery heat emanating from my ass now. "Hush, girl," she scolded. "That will be enough." I can't help it," I whined. "Then I will help you help it," she retorted. She sprung up on the bed and straddled my face. Her balls slit inches from my mouth. "Eat my cunt, lick my ass," she commanded. I didn't have time to protest. Fiona plunged her hard ass onto my face, rubbing her soaking wet pussy all over my nose and mouth, drenching my cheeks with her desire. It was my first real taste of pussy, and it was wonderful. Her aroma was intoxicating, hot and horny. The warm, sticky flow coming from her oozing slit was delicious. It was perhaps the sexiest experience I ever had. I considered again how much I wanted to please this woman, to make her like me. I hungrily lapped at her sex. Despite the pain and the tears, I was completely horny for her again. She rode my face vigorously, soaking me from chin to hairline. Suddenly, she leaned forward and plunged into me again. She entered both holes with her fingers, pounding me deliciously, making me delirious with pleasure. She moved her pussy off my face and entered her puckered rosette directly over my mouth. "Tongue my asshole, girlie," she howled, continuing to ram both my holes below. Her asshole was brown and pink, hairless and puckered. And in all that I could bring myself to do this, I extended my tongue and sampled her hole. She moaned loudly, encouraging my probes. I swirled my tongue over her asshole, wetting it lustily as she continued to assault my pussy and ass with her fingers. She had both her hands on me now. Fingers slid inside of me, pressing the rough patch of my G-spot. The pressure on my clit from what was likely her thumb was sending me to the moon. And the fingers exploring and violating my asshole made me feel deliciously naughty and filthy. "Rub my clit," Fiona exclaimed. I reached underneath her, locating her swollen nub. Her flesh was warm and gooey, sticky with her desire. It was awkward, but I got a thumb on her clit and rubbed it vigorously as I continued to tongue her ass. We developed a rhythm, working each other's feminine parts with zeal. A fullness engulfed me as Fiona worked her fingers deeper into my butt. While there was some discomfort at the intrusion to my virgin ass, at least to the depth that Fiona was exploring, the pleasure was intense. We began to writhe and buck in unison. My senses heightened. It was like a light in a tunnel, far away at first, but approaching relentlessly. My thighs and tummy warmed, and my toes stretched. My shoulders clenched, and my pussy throbbed. Then I exploded. I felt the juices dripping from my pussy, again rolling down my crack and accumulating at my butthole. Fiona was now riding my face as she continued to finger fuck both my holes. Then she screamed. Then she screamed, the feral sounds filling the bedroom and bouncing off the walls as her orgasm soaked my face, chin, and chest. Lifting herself about 6 inches off my face, she briefly pulled her hands from my holes, slapping my inner thighs, and pinched me again. The combination of pleasure and pain encompassed me. She gave the tender skin of my inner thighs one more vicious tug and plunged her fingers back into my asshole, drilling my poor butt with renewed intensity. She rubbed the bundle of nerves again, working me into a frenzy. You're a naughty-ass slut, young lady, aren't you? I only moaned. With her fingers continuing to work my hole, she used that hand that had abandoned my pussy to slap my cunt and inner thighs once more. Answer me, girl, she screeched. Tell me what you are. Say it. Tell me you're a filthy-ass slut. I whimpered. The pleasure I was feeling in my privates was divine. The stinging of my abused inner thighs painfully delicious. I couldn't believe I was in this woman's grasp, having her fuck my holes to kingdom come, and enjoying every second of it. In fact, it went beyond enjoyment. I was craving the torture, hoping it would never end, needing the abuse. I'm a filthy ass slut. Oh God, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, I bellowed. The end. If you're going to want to know what happens next, I suggest you get The Crack of Dawn by Skye. Clearly, Miss Fiona is a stone cold freak and not afraid to take control of a stranger. Because if you recall from the beginning of the story, even though she said that she walked past her apartment, they had only known each other. Thanks, Charlotte. I think it's a great story, too. Have to remember to let Charlotte, or rather Amber, Charlotte thinks that was a fab story. I think it was a fab story, too. Mainly because you get caught up in the experience of it. You get caught up in what the girl is experiencing and the fact that she is loving this experience she's never had before. And the more she gets, the more she wants. Which is what I mean when I mentioned, if you don't ever have a murder experience, you're missing out. This is one of those cases where she is having an experience that will change her sexual desires moving forward. So I want to thank again Miss Skye for such a hot and sexy story. Afterwards, I will be tweeting you where you can find the Skye, where you can find the rest of Crack of Dawn. Please support my friend, Ms. Skye. Great story. Great story. And again, remember I mentioned she said that she modeled some of her covers. Well, we're going to find out which ones. I promise I'm going to find out for you which ones. So, coming up next week, I've been teasing this for the last few weeks, and I think what we're just going to do is we're going to get a little sample of Secrets. I mean, really, how else am I going to get you to buy it if I don't let you know what the story's all about? That's what this is for. That is all. That the whole point of Casey at Night is to get these stories out. I saw that, Charlotte. We'll talk about that offline. And I think that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to read a little something from Secrets. I've read from Murder before. Done that before. I may revisit that again next week since I keep promoting it so much. And I might even give you a little taste of The Big Date. But as for right now, Murder and Secrets are available on Amazon. Secrets is available through Smash Mouth as well. The Big Date will be available in August. We've got 2 more installments on Secrets. And as far as if this is the first time that you've ever seen Casey at Night, You can catch some of the previous stories, some of the previous videos in my moments on Twitter, or you can go to my website, caseycarterbooks.com, and you can catch the stories that you haven't seen. You can find the links to purchase my books. You can find the links for the videos you haven't seen. There have been so many authors. I've been doing this since January, and there have been so many really good stories, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different subjects, but all hot and sexy, because that's how I like it. Thank you, Bruno Mars. And again, coming in August to Instagram, the Casey Carter Experience. If you're not on the Instagram, I'm going to give you some time to get there as I build up for that introduction. And again, always looking for writers. I'm pursuing one right now who does erotic sci-fi. I read a little sample of something of hers, and just a little snippet, but it was enough to pique my interest, which is what I said to her. And so I'm hoping I can convince her to let me read a little something from her collection. I don't want to give her name because I don't want to put too much pressure on her, but since I'm already talking about it, I want to encourage anyone who's got any particular style of writing. There is nothing that's not right, too much, not enough. I'm open to any and everything. I write in a particular style, but that doesn't mean everybody who reads likes what I write, which is why I enjoy reading everything. It's good for me, and it's good for you. So, again, allow me to thank Ms. Amber Skye for the crack of dawn, fellow Atlanta Peach. And next week, we're going to do a little something from Casey Carter, from Secrets, a little bit of something from Murder, and I think I might take a break for the holidays. I'm giving it some thought. I don't know. Well, I'm going to see how I feel next week. But anyway, as always, thank you for joining me. Thank you for indulging me in my technical difficulties at the top of the show. I apologize. Stuff just happens. That's why I tell you, it's a one-woman production. It ain't going to always be perfect. It ain't going to always be pretty, but I promise you, I'm going to be here. So, as I always say, I love you like a fat kid loves cake. See ya. Bye.